Hi, everyone. So my name is Laura Heilman. I use she, her, and hers pronouns, and I'm a career counselor at CLA Career Services. I want to welcome you all to our virtual employer chat on the topic of navigating identity during career conversations, where you'll be hearing from one of our fabulous CLA alums. Before we begin, I do want to explain briefly what we mean when we talk about identity and why it's important to this conversation. So aspects of identity are assets that individuals bring to their future employer. Identity can play all kinds of influential roles in shaping our academic and our career choices, keeping in mind that identity can encompass a broad range of categories that define how individuals identify themselves in relation to society. These categories can include ability, age, ethnicity, gender expression, language, race, religion, or spirituality, sexual orientation, socioeconomic status or class, and other dimensions as well. So I want to give our alumni guests a chance to introduce themselves. So today we have Saj Fernando with us. And Saj, would you mind introducing yourself, your name, role, organization, and what you studied when you were in CLA?
Yeah, my name is, thank you for having me, first of all. My name is Saj Fernando. I go by she, her, and hers. I currently work at the University of Minnesota Foundation. I am an annual giving officer, which means that I work with donors to bring in gifts for the university. And when I was at the U, I graduated in 2015, and my degree was a Bachelor of Individualized Studies in Psychology, Design Studies, and English.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Saj, for being here.
Thank you.
Just to get us started, would you mind sharing a little bit about why identity is an important part of your career and how it's influenced your career decisions up until this point?
Yeah, I think identity is important for a multitude of reasons. First of all, I think it's important to kind of create an idea of who we are in the workplace and what that means when the workplace collides with our professional lives. And a couple points that are most important to me, I think ownership of experiences is the first one. So what that means is having a sense of confidence and ease when you refer to your experiences and your past, whether that is personal and professional, but being able to bring that into the workplace with ease. So, having confidence in if you want to just pull from any of your personal experiences and relate them to how they would be professionally applicable, I think that's important. Another reason I find it really important is standing out and being unique. So when you own who you are and what your story is, that automatically makes you it makes you stand out from the crowd. Not a lot of people do that very often. And so being able to embrace everything that makes you who you are and bring that into the workplace can really make you stand out. And there are ways to do that professionally. And then the final one is the ability to identify roles that are the best fit for yourself. So when I think of where do I want to apply, I have a very clear idea of somewhere that would not just that I would qualify for, but also where would I feel like I really belong, like my values and the mission links and syncs with who I am, and the likeliness of you ending up in roles and a career that you really care about and that you're passionate about and probably good at too is much higher. And I do think there are two ways to do that. You can either, I think a lot of the time we reactively create our professional identities, and what that means is as we're going through our professional lives, we just react to our environment, like I'm in this job and so I'm going to become this person. But imagine if you could proactively do that. Take action right now, start from here instead of starting from out there, and develop who that means to you. Things pretty much line up really easily. And so I guess that's why identity is important for me, and that's how it's played into my career as well.
Thanks so much for sharing that. Those are amazing insights and really all really good points, and I think will definitely help students, I mean, I even think about myself, that's like great advice to reflect on. So, as students prepare to share aspects of their identity in career conversations, do you have any advice on how to bring that up in conversation? How can people share parts of their identity in those kinds of conversations with employers?
Yeah, I think this one can get a little bit difficult when we try to navigate it because, as generally as people who are new to the professional world, especially if you are a young professional or a recent graduate or a student still, I think it can be intimidating to think about who am I supposed to be and what is okay and not okay to share. And that gets really scary and intimidating. And really I don't know, the thing that I keep chanting and chanting forever and ever is you are already who you need to be to get those jobs. And what that looks like when you speak to when you think about bringing these into professional conversations, that really looks like you owning who you are and all the pieces that come with that. So anything that you feel has contributed to who you are today, I feel like is a valid point to share. Now, the degree to which you share that and how you want to share that completely depends on each of us, I think. And it also depends on where we're applying to and who we're speaking to. But again, once you have ownership and confidence of that information, pulling that out is really easy and it's not hard anymore. It's just about getting to know who we are and reflecting on that. So as an example, I have shared if I am speaking to somebody at a company that really values diversity, inclusion, I might drop a few snippets of, hey, I grew up in 2 different countries. I also married into a family that's from 2 separate countries. So between my spouse and I, we have 4 countries. And so how that personal piece is relevant in this situation is I'm not just an advocate for diversity, but I've lived it. It's a part of who I am in my past. And so that's how it becomes relevant. And saying something like that, I think, brings both you as a person and how it's applicable to that professional role, which can be so valuable. I've also shared, for example, say that I'm applying to a job that works with veterans. I will share that I also spent 10 years of my life in a war. And I've used this before. I've used both of these before. And people's eyes light up when they recognize that there's something real that they can connect to you on. Now, again, I recognize that the sensitivity of those two are very different. And so again, how you share that and where you think that's appropriate will vary. At the end of the day, everyone's going to tell you something different, and you have to decide what is right for you and how it's applicable. Both of these I have used, and they've always had really good results. So I think that just, again, getting to know yourself and knowing what and when to pull can really give you some leverage and ability to share your identity with confidence.
Thank you. That's awesome. And thanks for sharing some of your own personal experiences too. You're right. It is deeply personal for each person and totally up to each person to decide how and when and what to share. That's really important. But as you've named, it can be really a value added to that employer and also for that student, making sure that they find a workplace environment that will embrace who they are. So as we get closer to wrapping up our conversation, do you have any general advice or words of encouragement for students this fall?
Yeah, so I've written just a couple of lines that I feel like, again, I chant over and over again. But main points. Being a professional is not someone else that you have to try and become. It's just a way of presenting yourself. So you don't have to be anybody else other than who you are. You are already who you need to be. Have confidence in letting your passion and your interests take the lead on those things. And then take those interests and passions and anchor them in pieces of the industry, of the job, of the company. Find those interests and passions and like make that connection. Anchor those together. I think how you develop this connection and the strength with which you develop it is what creates the foundation for your professional brand and your identity. And I know, you know, we're speaking about identity in general, but I do think who we are, who we identify as in our personal lives is very, I encourage that to be who you are in your professional life as well. It's the most authentic expression. It also makes it the easiest because it doesn't have to be about you pretending to be something you're not, and discover who that is for you.
Thanks, Saj. I really appreciate that insight. So final question. Are you open to students connecting with you directly? And if so, what are some of the best ways to do so?
Yeah, I would love that. I encourage students to reach out as much as they like. I either email is great for me or LinkedIn works as well. I if I feel like saying these things is a lot easier sometimes than taking the actual steps. So while I'm telling you to go out there and be yourself, if you do want to talk about the specific steps, I'd be happy to do that.
Yes, I'm sure that would be appreciated because it is a little bit easier said than done, especially in the climate that we're in. It can be vulnerable to share who we are and difficult or challenging to kind of think about how to do that in a way that you feel good about. So thanks for your willingness to support students with that.
Thank you.
Yes, any last things that you wanted to share that you didn't have a chance to share at this point?
I don't think so. I could go on and on about this topic. So connect with me if you're interested.
Awesome. Well, I think that's a wrap. Thanks, Saj, and I hope that you all found value in this conversation and look forward to connecting with you all in the future too.
Thanks, Laura.
Thanks.